Hey guys, this is Fourth and Snarky. Okay, let's talk about my favorite games of the week. Really, the weekend. But there was one game during the week that was just awesome. The Eagles Packers. Of course, it was awesome. It was the Packers. Okay, so first let's talk about the whole Brazil thing. Yes, they went down there. Yes, it was a historic game. But really, it wasn't worth it, at least for a Packer fan. I mean, Jordan Love got hurt on a field that no one communicated that it was going to be as slippery as it was. I mean, those trainers, God, they really had their work cut out for them. Watching them switch out cleats the whole first half was just crazy. The Eagles got off to a rough start. Their first two drives ended up in turnovers. Now, I'm not saying that was all the field, but even during those first two drives, you could see people slipping and sliding. Look at Jalen Hurts. I mean, he's also wasn't that great that night, but Saquon Barkley saved the day. I mean, for his debut for the Eagles, he did fantastic, and that's coming from a Packers fan. He carried the team. I'm not trying to diss AJ Brown or anything because he put up some great yards. But the problem was that Jalen Hurts just wasn't getting it done, but the run game did get it done. And I mean, Saquon Barkley is used to carrying a quarterback. He did it with the Giants. I mean, no one here is going to say that Daniel Jones is the best quarterback in the world. Hell, he's not even a mediocre quarterback. The Packers weren't much better, though. I mean, Jordan Love had some great throws, and honestly, Jaden Reed was fantastic. Christian Watson in the end zone, that catch, gorgeous. But really, you could tell that something was off. I'm going to blame the field because I need to blame somebody. For Josh Jacobs' debut with the Packers, he did great. The problem is that we have no one else to help him. AJ Dillon is out with a neck injury, and we no longer have Aaron Jones. I mean, yes, I'm still crying about the whole Aaron Jones thing, but I have a right to. He was fantastic, still one of the best running backs in the league. I think we made a mistake. The end of the Packers game was just sad. Watching Jordan Love get hurt, I mean, that could have been a season-ending injury. Knock on wood, it's not. But having Malik Willis come in, God, those two plays were just bad. I don't know what he can do. I mean, we'll see, because obviously he's going to be our starter next week unless Love gets better. Fingers crossed. Not saying that's going to happen, but all in all, it was a good game. Let's talk about the Patriots and Bengals. Honestly, this game was just, I don't even know. Like, Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He has been. There's very little denying that. And I know Bengals fans are going to say, well, the first couple games of the season are always pretty bad, but they shouldn't have been this bad. I mean, with a new coach for the Patriots, a new quarterback, and most of the O line being pretty new, this should have been an easy win for them. Now, please don't get me wrong. Jacoby Brissett did very well. Was it pretty? No. Was it fancy? No. It was a clean job and he got it done. I do want to say a couple things about Jacoby Brissett. Listen, he was with Cleveland and he was a pretty good quarterback. For all intents and purposes, one of the 38 that Cleveland has had in the past 25 years that could have actually done something. And even when he was second string, he was pulling some big numbers. Cleveland let him go. He's been passed around the league. I mean, he's been in the league 9 years. I'm glad he's finally found a home. The Pats O-line looked okay, but their defense looked great. I mean, especially compared to the Bengals. Or are we going to start going back to Bungles after this game? Probably not, but I did always like saying that. The Bungles. The play calling wasn't much better. I mean, why do you punt in the fourth? Like, why not just go for it? You had literally nothing to lose at that point. Let's talk about the Steelers and the Falcons. I will say that this was a fun game to watch. Not for any other reason then that I found multiple parts just hilarious. Seeing Russell Wilson all suited up, listed as a third string quarterback even when he's injured. Like, what is he thinking that Fields and whoever the other backup is are both going down and he's going to be like, I got you, coach. I'm in. Nobody. That's not going to happen. From the start of the game, Kirk Cousins just looked bad. I mean, I was hoping that we would see the Kirk Cousins of 2022. Now, I'm not saying that he was ever this amazing quarterback. He's not. He was no Brett Favre, but he was a solid B plus quarterback. And if the Falcons got him, let's say back in 2020, I think this could have been a good move. But honestly, after the Achilles injury, I don't know if he has the mobility anymore. I mean, he wasn't making the plays that he normally does. And he was in the shotgun almost the entire time, which isn't his normal style either. The Falcons' offense didn't help anything, though. I mean, they just kept collapsing. As for the Steelers and Justin Fields, I mean, he was fine. It was nothing spectacular. He was just fine. Was he better than when he played for the Bears? Yeah. I mean, it's the Bears. The Falcons were literally kicked to death. I mean, 6 field goals? Seriously? Boswell saved that entire game for them. And it's not the first time that this has happened to Pittsburgh, where the kicker saves the game. What other team in the league, their kicker is their most valuable player? Who knew? Let's be honest, though. The most valuable player on the Steelers is TJ Watt. Listen, I am partial to him. Not just because he was a Badger, but he is a beast. I mean, just a total beast. He gets through that line like nobody's business. I'm just going to say it. He is way better than JJ ever was. That's just my opinion, though. He is the reason that the Steelers haven't been as horrible as they actually are. Another fun thing to watch during that game was Boswell becoming a punter for the first time. I mean, it was horrible that their punter got hurt. But watching him take his first punt after he just kicked 6 field goals was awesome. Okay, Browns Cowboys. Listen, it was basically the Browns doing Browns things. I mean, there's no other way to put it. With the amount of times that the Browns have had games exactly like this is just laughable. I mean, Deshaun Watson was horrible. Like, no doubt about it, horrible. His team started getting pissed off, and players were refusing his hand to help them get up. I mean, come on. But he's only played 6 games in the 2 years that he's been with Cleveland. So, who's to say? Dallas, on the other hand, were fantastic. I mean, I will fully admit that I make fun of Dak Shepard's "Here We Go." I'm not going to do the impression because it's horrible, but CeeDee Lamb really took off. Not that I didn't expect him to. He's their number 1 receiver. I mean, heck, even in my fantasy league, he went number 1. And there's good reason for it. He can catch some of these balls that no one else could. Ezekiel Elliott didn't do bad either, but he didn't give me any points in my fantasy league, so I'm not going to give him any time here. Okay, I'm kidding. In terms of that game, it was basically a bloodbath. I mean, from start to finish, the Cowboys had complete control of the field. They had complete control of the crowd. If you heard, people were chanting, "Go Cowboys." And as the Browns left the field, they were getting booed. Now, I know Myles Garrett has talked about this, but let's be realistic. The problem here is their quarterback. Baker Mayfield did a better job with a worse team than Deshaun Watson. And listen, he may have been great when he was at the Texans. In my opinion, he was just okay, but he's not whatever he was back then. He's not going to be. I don't think he has the confidence, and he definitely doesn't have the ability anymore. Okay, let's talk about the Jets and the 49ers. I'm going to be completely honest. I am totally biased against this. I don't want the Jets to ever win. ever, unless they get a different quarterback. Not because I think Aaron Rodgers is the greatest, because I don't. He used to be great. That is undeniable. But since 2022, and even part of 2021, something shifted. And if you watched last night's game, he couldn't get it up. Literally, he could not get the ball up. He was throwing to receivers, and whether it was going past them, in front of them, or they just couldn't catch it. That's a huge problem. He would be hitting receivers with the Packers on no looks. And what happened last night is not the Aaron Rodgers that the Packers have ever seen. Now, I don't know if it's because he's out of practice, because he hasn't played in over a year, but something's up. The star of the game, though, was Deebo Samuel. I mean, honestly, he did so well. With the 49ers' lack of running back right now, he took that ball and literally ran through people. It was great. And their kicker, Moody, chef's kiss. Did Aaron Rodgers hit Alan Lazard? Yes. Did he hit Garrett Wilson, who is an elite wide receiver? Yes. That had more to do with the wide receivers than it did Aaron Rodgers. Listen, I know I'm not talking about specifics of this game very much, and that's because while I was watching it, I was laughing. Nothing against the Jets. It's just that Rodgers was our guy. And then he went to the Jets, and then he got hurt. And then he started claiming that he was going to be back in 6 weeks, then 8 weeks, then 14 weeks. And now he is back, and he's not the same. I feel bad for you guys. You put all your hope in this guy, thinking he was the next Joe Namath. And he's not. Also, there's not very many specifics because the 49ers kicked the Jets' butt. And when it's that kind of game, sometimes it's just sad to watch. I do want to touch on a couple things, though. I watched the Browns game live with Tom Brady's commentary. He's not the greatest. By no means am I saying that I am any better, but for someone who is getting 350 million, I expect you to take some classes. He had to keep getting prompted to even speak. I mean, listen, I was never a Brady fan, mainly because I thought he was overrated, and I still kind of think that. He is no Tony Romo. Even Tony Romo's first broadcast, yeah, it was kind of shaky. He was nervous. But Tony Romo is a fantastic commentator. He was a good quarterback, but a great commentator. Well, guys, those are my favorites this week. You'll notice I didn't talk about the Bears. There's not much to talk about. I mean, Caleb Williams really wasn't anything to talk about. Their defense and special teams, though, amazing. I mean, they saved the game. They're the only team in NFL history who was down by 17 and came back and won with fewer than 150 yards. Now, I will say that is impressive, but it still kind of seemed like the Bears are doing Bear stuff. And since I'm a Packers fan, I think everybody knows the Bears still suck. Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you later in the week. Bye.